Yep. Alright, everybody good? Everybody comfy?
Yep. I've got my egg.
You got your egg?
It's super
Oh my god, that thing
Oh,
creates so much chaos. We're so confused.
It does.
Anyway.
Yep. So if we need to take turns in talking, this is what we'll do.
won't.
Yeah.
No, because if you
egg.
have it, you don't know what the order is or who's supposed to be talking.
I know the order. I know all.
You didn't even know it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was.
I had that
I
all
understood
under
what was
control.
going on. I knew where he was coming from.
And then he didn't. And then he
Yeah,
stopped knowing where
he
he's
did
going.
forget at one point his own order.
Yeah.
That's true.
Welcome to a brand new season 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Season
Oh.
5 of the Effin' Movie Podcast.
We're going gray.
I'm your host today, Dylan. Also host, as always, Mason, Nathan, and Price. As you can tell from our lighting, we're at a brand new studio!
Yep, definitely.
It's definitely not just angles. Before we get into this movie review, first of all, I do want to talk a little quick announcements and stuff like that. As we're starting a new season, this may or may not be a new studio, guys. We won't lie to you. But you can catch us in our new audio studio. We're on Spotify now. Price, tell us a little bit about Spotify.
Yes, we are. We are found under the Effin' Movie Podcast. Right now, it is a picture of a random boy's face, looking very distressed.
Not random.
It's not random. That's Jack.
Well, maybe one day you'll get to meet him. Who knows? But we're on Spotify now, so be looking forward to those weekly drops. We're going to be doing whenever Nathan edits the video section, which you all are very accustomed to at this point. We're going to be putting it out also on Spotify. So if you are enjoying the audio version of this, you'll be like, man, it sounds like they've been doing this for a while. Boy, have we. And we have a ton of videos that you are welcome to watch on our YouTube channel. But here going forward, you will be seeing all of our content on both YouTube and Spotify.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we're not going to do the entire backlog of audio because Price said no.
It'd take a long time. We have like 120
plus.
movies or something.
Yeah.
It'd take a while.
Yeah. So we're only going to go from modern, current season 5 forward, give or take the couple that he tested and put it up just to have the
Yeah, because the only person that's told me, like, I've had a few people tell me, but Kelly's the main one. So, hi, Kelly. Hope you're enjoying your commute to work.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
These are pretty much for you, because I don't know if anyone else that'll listen to it.
Yeah.
She's gonna scream in the car right now.
Like a good scream.
Yeah.
Keep your hands on the wheel, Kel.
Me too.
Yep. But anyway, before we get into it, usually we try to change things up between seasons. You may notice we don't have another visual aid. We don't have a video game or anything coming up on that. We're trying to do it without it. We're trying to keep it a little bit more bare bones. Our studio got cut, COVID prices and all that stuff. So we had to keep the studio, but we had to lose some of the visual aid stuff. But we did make some changes to our schedule and routine, starting with, what are we introing? How do we intro this movie? What is this movie? Oh my god, Mason!
Yeah, so today, as you could probably tell by the, the title of the video, it's The Other Guys.
Yeah.
It's something
Long-awaited.
honestly, we've been juggling The Other Guys for a long time.
Yep.
Since the start.
Honestly.
Since season 1.
The only person who has not seen this movie a dozen times before was Nathan. He has not seen this before. First time for him.
And I deliberately kept from watching it for several years now.
You are not gonna
because
watch
You guys
it.
kept being like, "Oh, we're gonna pick it
We're
at
gonna
some
pick
point. We're gonna pick it."
No, he's right. We have said at least once every season we're going to pick this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's finally happened.
It finally happened.
Yeah, so basically The Other Guys, it's just a comedy from 2010. It basically deals with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell's characters that are these, detective duo that ends up trying to uncover this massive deal because they've been stuck in the shadows behind Samuel L. Jackson and
The Rock.
The Rock's
Rock.
characters, right?
For about the first 15 minutes of this film.
Yes, and it is just this wild ride. Will Ferrell plays this very dorky guy. Mark Wahlberg plays exactly who you think Mark Wahlberg would play. As the story goes on, they uncover more and more. Michael Keaton is their captain, and before too long, they're in over their heads, and shit just gets crazy.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, that tracks.
Accurate enough, it's a comedy. But it does have more of a plot than you would imagine.
Honestly,
which I'm
it
sure we're
does.
going to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost more plot driven than some other comedies, in a weird, kind of like how Super Troopers was.
Yeah, Super Troopers has a it has a plot, but to its credit, I think that it doesn't need to be incredibly attached to it in the same way that this movie is. But we're going to get into thoughts and stuff here a little bit.
To begin the discussion, I was going to say, it is interesting that you know that this was made in 2010, because you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like there's like a bunch of like garbage comedies that were kind of being made like before this time, and it feels like this was one of the last ones that was like, it's kind of like the last big hiccup of like the modern-ish kind of comedies. Like it went out like on like a good note. Like there's still been a few comedies, of course, since then, but like this kind of like ended a lot of those comedies that are being made.
Did Step Brothers not come out in like the exact same year?
2008.
It was before that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it was like 2 years before.
I do think of like that one, this one. You're right. Like there's a few that stand out. Superbad was 07, Step Brothers was 08. This movie 2010ish.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that stick out the most of like that decade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's plenty in between that we're just like,
Very
yeah,
good.
they were churning out a lot of bad comedies around that time. For sure.
And a
Judd
chunk of them
Apatow.
with Will Ferrell.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
that's all
Oh,
I'm thinking of is like Talladega Nights.
Right.
And
You can't really say Talladega Nights because that like it's not really too
I can
funny
see
to us,
that.
but like mainstream appeal, like
No,
that is
yeah,
Will Ferrell.
people really-
But
yeah. I
you're
mean,
right.
it is, but I'm just saying in that wheelhouse of ones where it's just one after another after another. And
Land
it's
of
like
the Lost.
they were okay. Like another one that I always think of as having been way overhyped for like broad public appeal, like you're saying, would
Monty
be
Python.
Anchorman. I think
Mhm.
Anchorman is not
Exactly.
anywhere near as funny as
I
it
agree.
gets referenced.
As it gets
same
loved.
director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam McKay.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Anchorman was like very low tier
It
compared
was
to this. Or
bad, honestly.
yeah.
Like I had rewatched it maybe last year, and I was like, this has so many dragging scenes, so many things that just are not funny. Like, how was this a popular movie?
It's Ron Burgundy, and like you either love him or you hate him.
Right.
He was too much for me, and probably too much for you.
I think I liked On the First Land, but then in hindsight,
yeah, and
right.
that's the thing is like I remember the first time I watched it thinking like, yeah, that's
It's
pretty
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
And then on second blush is like, no.
Yeah.
No. So and clearly, you know, going back to this movie, you guys have all seen this movie multiple times, so this one, in your all's eyes, definitely holds up.
Yeah. Underrated one. I think this one is still on most people's
underrated.
radar.
It just keeps hitting. Like,
yeah.
I mean, even last night I'd seen it, but like there was crap that was said like in the background that I had never caught before.
Mm-hmm.
Like the kids sliding across. But yeah, we can get into all that. Like this, yeah.
It's 7:30 a.m. Time to have a good day, everyone. Cut the shit.
9:15.
I like how relatable that is, though.
Oh,
Right?
oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's one person who's just a little too chipper. Fuck off. It's too early to be this
Yeah.
chipper.
Yeah.
Before we're deep diving too much into this, were there any segments before we get into the meaty discussions of it? Okay.
Discussion, true.
Discussion. All right,
I
making
know
sure
you
I'm on
seem
track.
lost.
No, I know. I'm double tracking my bases on that. All right, so we're into discussion then. So I do want to get into sitting here thinking, yeah. So for me, pound for pound, this is going to be a hot take. I think this is not only my favorite, but I almost might argue this is Will Ferrell's best movie. And I know we have somebody who loves Step Brothers in here.
Step Brothers is my favorite.
I know you're going to go back. to that.
Will Ferrell's known for his man-child persona, and I think
Right.
like what movie did it the best was Step Brothers.
Sure, but I
But
think
he's not acting like that in this movie.
exactly, and that's why
He's acting like a boob, but not a man-child.
And
like
I
he
think
normally
that's
does.
for me. I think the dynamic in this movie is what totally sells it for me across the board. Because from like 05 to 2010, I would argue that Will Ferrell's role was the guy from Step Brothers in several other contexts with John C. Reilly in several other contexts. And that dynamic is like, it is what it is. Like you either love it or like Step Brothers, I'll admit is fine, but like a lot of the other ones felt like duds to me. Whereas him with Mark Wahlberg, I really like the foil that he is to Mark Wahlberg's like both serious but also like still playful along where it's smarter humor for Will Ferrell.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me I think has been the thing that's helped me
Yeah.
go through the test of time with this movie because again this is an 11 almost 12-year-old movie at this point.
Yeah.
And comedies age harder than most, I would say.
Oh, absolutely they do.
So
Yeah.
seeing it still hold up and seeing
Which is why I didn't want to watch it
Right,
at
right.
any point beforehand because I didn't want to have to watch it again later and
for sure.
sour on it.
Yeah, but I would say that this one for me is just, I think that he just does so much more than all of his other roles. And say what you will, it feels like this is a different character versus even the Step Brothers trope humor he has with John C. Reilly on that stuff. Different enough anyway, I think. Maybe I'm too hot on it in that way, but feel free to discuss.
Well, so just to talk about Will Ferrell's character,
Mhm.
this is, Nathan, you nailed it earlier. There's kicking and screaming.
Oh God.
Yeah,
I
there's
forgot
Blades
about
of
that
Glory,
movie.
Oh,
Semi-Pro,
freaking
all of this.
Blades of
junk.
Glory. He's
No,
not
don't
really
even.
playing a man-child though.
Well,
I
it's
think
just
the supporting cast in Blades of Glory is huge.
It
That
is.
was That movie was stacked.
But all of those movies from 2005 to 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just too much of Will Ferrell, right? So that's why he exploded.
I mean, he owned the comedy scene for that time. It really feels like Jim Carrey's run from like 5 to like 99 or something like
that's a
that.
good comparison.
Like,
And I basically just gave you a bunch of duds to where this movie does shine a little bit more from his character. Yeah, because he plays a boob, whatever.
right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm kind of with Dylan. I think like this movie is a little bit higher in my rank than Step Brothers. Not because Step Brothers is bad, but because like it's not just this childish bouncing off of another childish, bouncing off of another childish. Like
It's refreshing for Will Ferrell. For
yeah,
me,
like this.
right?
Yeah, he was almost
Well,
what's it called? The straight man in this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
like
a
I,
weird way.
I like his character in this better than in most things that he's ever been in.
Right.
And he was pretty grounded. I mean,
Yeah.
like he had some
Yeah.
parts about Sheila that were really
And
funny.
how like beautiful women
Right. Just keep
Yes.
adoring
wanted
him.
to be with them
Yes.
all the time.
And he just kept looking puzzled.
Yeah.
Like every time he was like, I don't know.
Just him describing his him doing pimp work, and it's just like but he will never own it as a pimp until like the very end of the movie. But the entire time he's just describing very flat, very just like no, you were a pimp, and he's like no, it was
No,
just
are
me
you even
helping
listening?
several women protect them in their profits, like him just rubbing the what am I thinking, the switchblade on his knife
Yes.
over on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one night, Candy and Julia took me to the ER.
Yeah.
We are talking. I mean, I do like this movie as a whole, of course,
Yeah.
but there are some negatives that I think that we do
For
need to
sure.
talk about.
Yeah.
I think we watched it all together 5 minutes before we did this,
Mhm.
and Dylan made a really good comment that I'm going to repeat for him. Basically, is that like you can tell Adam McKay got a budget when he was directing for this, and boy was he going to use it all. And
Yeah.
there are way too many action scenes in this, in my opinion. Like the chase scenes go on too long, too many explosions. I think. I mean, there's like it indulges itself. This movie, like I'll spoil, like it is fat, and the action scenes are a big chunk of where that
So-
fatness lies for me.
Here's my thing with that though, and like you're used to like Step Brothers or
Oh my
like
God.
Talladega Nights, right? Like
Why do I keep
Talladega.
getting attacked for this?
I won't. So Talladega Nights had what you would maybe say is a little bit of an excessive NASCAR tone because that was their thing. Step Brothers had a little bit more of a childish overtone, a little bit. They exhausted like the childish aspect of it, maybe a little bit. This movie, they were detectives chasing bad guys, so yeah, maybe it is a little bit excessive.
Like,
Well,
no,
yeah,
that's
me,
not what a real detective does. Like, no
No,
real detective
no,
is
I
in
believe
these
it.
situations.
It's about emulating, movie cop stuff.
Yeah.
I think, and that's where to me, all that kind of stuff just
It's meant to
seemed
be
in
tongue in
line.
cheek
Like
and
it's like
excessive,
Bad
right?
Boys or something.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And, I mean, I do think it overindulges itself, but, like, at the same time, halfway through this movie, not a single explosion had happened, not a single, like... Well, there was a car
what?
chase. There was one car
They
chase
ran in
explosion.
through the Trump Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they hit the
That
Trump
was the very
one,
first one, yeah.
and then they hit.
But then there was a 40-minute nothingness.
Nope,
Yeah.
and then they had the big
Wrecking ball.
crane
wrecking
thing
ball.
with a wrecking
Yeah.
ball
Yeah.
going through a jewelry store,
explosions.
Mason.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, but there's
we're talking
nothing
just
after that.
explosions, right?
Just
Well, big
like
action set
actual
pieces,
big
though.
explosions.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So-
And there was a lot more towards
Well,
the second half of it than
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
and,
the
and
first.
talking about the beginning of it, the cinematography for the opening action scene, I think is horrible.
Yeah.
It's a
And
little
then
bit
the later
handed
ones
to-
it gets
yeah.
better.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing that confuses
There's
me.
a
of this
weird
movie.
inconsistency.
Like,
there.
there's a lot
It's
of-
like so shaky and all over the place in the beginning, but then all of their action scenes and chases, it's a much more stable, more
Steady.
like drawn out. Like it feels like the beginning you were way too close on everything that was happening,
Samuel
just because
L.
they
Jackson.
wanted to show you
Yeah.
the two stars.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of
Close.
very like flat, like front-facing shots of The Rock and Samuel
Yeah.
Jackson, and they
It
did
almost
that
looked
a
green
lot.
screen too. Like they were so
Oh, yeah.
close, and
Right.
like everything behind Samuel L. Jackson just looked.
I mean, when they
completely
aimed for the
fictional.
bushes, like that green screen
Yeah.
was terrible.
That's still one of the. And it's not even like I can't even say opening because it's like I mean it's within like the first 10 or
Yeah, it's
15
within-
minutes, right?
Yeah, first
Yeah.
10.
It's objectively still opening by that point, but it's still one of my favorite openings just because it's just like I remember the first time watching this movie, and remember I was just like, how are Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell going to interact with The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson? And then aim for the bushes, and then I hit the ground, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're gonna do.
It's
now.
a bit like the Suicide Squad 2021, where like you see all these
Yeah,
stars
yeah.
there, and you're like, you can't possibly fit all these people in this movie.
Yeah,
James
They
Gunn,
don't.
you're right.
Then the weasel like just
Right,
gets off on the
drowned.
beach or something.
Nobody
and then...
thought to check if he could drown or swim. So really quick before I want to put the closing cut on at least the excessive action set pieces with this film though, is that I think that credit where credit's due. Nathan hits the point of like this is in a sense a like mock on action like cop action movies. So it being excessive and stuff like that I think is fine, but I think the indulgence of how often they're excessive I think is kind of where we're all on the same page on. Is just that alright, it's fine if they go over the top ridiculous that doesn't make any sense relative to like Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg's characters in this one, but because it just keeps happening so often, it just felt like it was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
Make a bigger explosion. Go way more excessive on like 1 rather than 3 to 4.
You phrased that better.
It was still medium
That's what I
sized
meant.
ones, right?
Yeah, like if they just had one like really big car chase over the top
Mhm.
explosion kind of thing, but like it just kept going. Like a big one would happen, slow beat. Big one would happen, slow beat.
Right.
It just got kind of annoying after a while because that's not what I wanted from
Yeah.
this movie.
And I do think that it goes even further too. Like it gives me more appreciation of like good action and things. And I know this isn't supposed to be like a movie trying to do good action per se, but again, I come back to like the modern revitalization of like modern action movies being a lot more grounded, being a lot more. I mean, again, I'm always going to use John Wick as this platform one for it because it kind of set the tone for like gun fu and it being very grounded and stable and good shots and not cutty, choppy explosions and then back to cutty, choppy stuff again. So it is kind of a fault on me for like looking back on it because it is an action comedy no matter what way they want to cut it. But I come to this movie for the comedy part of it, not the action part, and I feel like there's just so many funny fucking things about this movie. Dirty Mike and the Boys kills me.
There's like the first like almost like half of the movie I think is very fit top to bottom. This is
Yeah.
what I came to see this movie for, and then the back half it's more plot oriented and action oriented.
It's extra plot.
Which
Right.
was not what I'm wanting for this. Which again, I still really like this movie. It's just I wish the first half carried more into the second half in like its tone and structure.
And I think you would have a Step Brothers movie if it did carry on the first half of it because like
That's my favorite
exactly.
movie.
No, and
So-
I agree. Like it is such a tempo change to where like they just I feel like they pivoted.
There's
Yeah,
really
Dylan,
hard.
you noticed during the movie, you were like, "This is
Yeah.
the part."
I
forgot
know
what it was.
exactly on it. It is
Right before the accounting
Yeah,
office.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
before they get in.
gas leak.
It's immediately, like literally, they go to New Jersey to go check out the accounting office. The explosion happens, and you feel the literal gear shift in this movie from the tone and like playful fun humor and not taking itself so seriously, not going too detective-y into it, into detective action side with like less comedy. Like I would say the first half of this movie, give or take, is like a comedy
In the
with
Office.
good action elements, right?
Yeah.
Where it flips over and then it's an action cop movie with comedic elements more at that point on the tail half of it, and it's. I feel for me it's definitely the weaker side. I'm intrigued to see. I don't think any of us are on the opinion that the second half feels better than the first half on it. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I wonder if there are people out there who are like, no, I like the second half of other guys. more."
Comment and let us know.
Yeah.
if you like the second half more.
Maybe Bad Boy fans are gonna come flocking, but Mason's right here.
I
so.
love Bad Boys.
Bad Boys is actually really fun. We went to
And
go watch.
I know we saw the third one.
Yeah, third one.
I haven't seen one of them.
Oh man,
The-
underrated.
The
Oh,
only
actually, properly rated. Probably.
The only con that I really have with this movie, I don't know if you guys were noticing, but like the transitioning shots in between the scenes, it was just like they were just doing a skit real quick. They were gonna land a few lines and
Yeah.
then on to the next,
Mhm.
and then like they were onto a lead and then they were gonna say a few lines and then on to the next. It reminded me a lot of Super Troopers.
Yeah.
And that was our biggest
Yeah.
flaw with Super Troopers, where it was just like this was a series of skits
Mm-hmm.
with about this much plot, and that's how. In my opinion, the first half of this movie kind of sort of was
Just-
like it was them in the office,
Right.
It was them in the bullpen or whatever, and then it was like, then they were chasing cars, and then it was like, I don't know, then they were, then they got hijacked, and then it was just this weird like
Beat after beat
that didn't really go like fluidly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad. It was just I could notice it last night very much. It was crazy.
And I think to that trend though, like it kind of does. I don't know. It's one of the things I kind of low key like about it. It just gives us enough story to give us context for everything to make sense. Like,
And
why are
they
we
had
in
a
an
big
office
plot.
with guns? Yeah, no, and there's a big plot because Adam McKay is one of those people who really likes to have that political, I guess I could call it political, whatever, societal narrative concept on like big money ruining America and how capitalism keeps pushing the envelope too far. and
Oh, that last beat with Derek Jeter
Yeah.
is very expressly
Why the hell?
him saying
That's
that.
going to be the
Yeah.
part
It's
that
it's
we
cut.
all...
It's cut
Yeah,
in
it's
the
cut in the
original
original
version. We
cut.
watched the director's cut because of course we did.
Right.
Of course.
Hey, now you guys know how I feel every time I watch a movie that
Hey,
I don't
you
realize
know,
I'm signing
I'm
for.
I'm in for the most.
Yeah.
Give it all.
Doing the
every
most.
time.
Yeah.
I am thinking about. I remember during the Step Brothers review, Dylan said something similar to this, but I feel the exact same way about this movie in that my favorite character is not one of the lead two.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely Michael Keaton's character
Yeah,
for me. I forgot what his name is, but
It's
every line that he says is gold.
Captain
And Michael
Gene.
And Michael
Yeah.
Keaton is such an amazing actor too, and he just crushes comedy as well. Just like the little ticks that he does, like when he says "Stop, shake your dicks off, boys! This pissing contest is over," and he just like very subtly just like looks to the side like that
Just
was
kinda
funny,
nods.
right?
Kind of like winks.
him going into the when in the funeral fight. What are you guys doing? Like, just
That
all
whole
of
like
that.
whispering
Yeah.
like thing, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Keaton is such an underrated like comedy actor, and I think for me it took me so back whenever I first watched this because it was like, what the fuck? Because we have to remember, like, I feel like this movie, not saying that this is the credit for it, but this is kind of like right around the comeback on Keaton coming back into like movie
Birdman.
scene. This Birdman, and it gets into like a train from there. Of course, the next movie I think is like Spider-Man: Homecoming. As
Yeah, that's the
Vulture.
only thing I can ever think of. is
Right,
Birdman.
but Keaton was off the map for a long time, and then Keaton popped back up suddenly, and it feels right
Yeah,
around this
it's-
period. it
It's
starts
quality
picking
over
up.
quantity for him in the past
Exactly.
like 12 years.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, after like the Batman's where he, on that one, it felt like he just kind of dropped off the map.
He's in that new show called Dope Sick though, so
Is
I'm
he really? The
interested
Hulu
to
one?
see. Yeah, the Hulu one. I have no inclination to watch it, but apparently
Uh-huh.
he's on there.
Yeah, but I'm glad that he is though, because I think he's pretty underrated as an actor. He looks kind of older and rougher even in this one, which is 11 years ago now. But I think Keaton's still like his comedy beats with it. I laugh every single time he intends me to laugh in this movie pretty
Yep.
much. The TLC references, I don't get the reference. Like,
The writing in this movie is
above and beyond.
impeccable. Like
Right.
every line is hitting. Like they did really
well,
well.
and they spread them out really well.
Yeah.
The two detectives that were just on these guys.
Oh,
are
the
shit
two
all,
shitty
all
detectives.
movie long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even they weren't really annoying. Like they were even hitting pretty well.
Yeah, my Suburban shit one of these. Yeah,
It's just like Scarface sneezed on your car.
And at, like the funeral scene again, where I forgot one of the two, not the Kobayashi, not that guy, but the black guy, when he
Yeah.
just goes up to Will Ferrell and just like laughs in his face. I was dying.
Yeah.
Like, you want to
Laugh.
dance, boy?
Which is so funny because it's such a way. Because I'm pretty sure he's a Wayans, right? Like
Yeah,
one
he's.
of
I think he is. I
he's
think
either a brother or a
Wayans,
cousin
right?
or something. But yeah, he's like from the Wayans family. And like that laugh is such a Wayans laugh though that I kind of love that they just let him do that because it feels
They
so-
made him do it. I'm sure.
Right,
They were
they're
like,
so funny.
This
Yeah.
is your contract. But like just them. I mean, Eva Mendes.
Mhm.
I don't think that she.
She
had a
did
whole
really
lot
well.
of,
Like when she
right,
flips
funny
on Will
ones.
Ferrell finally.
Yeah.
Like, you can't talk to me like you're gay. And she's like, get out!
I know. I like how she goes. It's like 1, 2, 8,
All of
10.
them, yes.
Like all of a sudden, it just feels so. Yeah, dude. Eva Mendes, who I've never seen to be like a phenomenal actress. Other than this, I don't know any of the movies that she's in that I'm like, noticeable performance, right?
Usually she's like the love interest. pretty
Right,
much
she's
every
probably
I've
just
seen.
like-
Hitch.
Oh
She's
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. Like again, like pretty rom-com actress and stuff like that. So I love putting her in this and seeing that. Again, like man, I don't.
She was in the second Fast and Furious.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah, who
Yeah.
else was going to say
Case
that?
in
It was on the
point.
tip of my tongue, Mason.
Yeah. So all of that says that I'm like, it makes me wonder just not only how good are the actors, but as well as the writing with it as well, which we, again, we will talk about in spades probably, is just that, like, yeah, it's just smart. It's funny. It's just, and it's a solid idea. You're just sitting here and you're having Eva Mendes and you're having Will Ferrell just be like, she's shit, she's fat, she's awful. And it's
Well, like, you see the two of them, and you're
Yeah.
like, Will Ferrell's an ugly
Yeah.
troll, and
Right.
Eva Mendes is gorgeous.
And he is like belittling her in every step of the way.
every single one.
Do you guys think that like Mark Wahlberg's like comedy performance? Because you think of Daddy's Home, which also had the same two. You think of
Yeah.
Ted. You think of
Never watched Ted.
roughly, really.
It's been a long
That's,
time
that's
for me.
roughly like his top three,
Mm-hmm.
maybe top
Comedies.
three comedies.
I think this is his number one on,
Oh,
and, like
easily.
without watching Ted, like,
But like,
yeah, I would say this is his number one hands down. Like this one, it just feels organic, right? Like, and a lot of times with comedies, it feels like sometimes the context is a little forced, or it just there's a little, it's too excessive. It feels too deep into the comedy tone that everything's funny, so nothing's funny to me.
do you think that you should give him a script where he has a lot of jokes, or a script that he's got a lot of guns. Like, which Mark Wahlberg you want?
I like him being poker. I like him just being Mark Wahlberg and having him be the rest of the world feels ridiculous for him to be a regular person. Right?
I almost like his comedic role in The Departed more. In all honesty, I think he's hilarious.
See,
in that movie.
and that's the other way around.
For like
but
4 seconds.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, you can't have Mark Wahlberg match the tone of the world. Right. He has to be either like a little too serious or a little too absurd. Because even in The Departed, he stands out tonally from like all the rest of the characters who are all very straight laced, and he's just like maybe not. Maybe fuck you.
Yeah, and he got like suspended and you just didn't see him because of his attitude.
Right.
He just left for a while.
He's just so fucking extra in that film. But in this one, everything else is so extra, and Mark Wahlberg is really... So
he's grounded.
Yeah, I like the dynamic of that. You gotta have Mark Wahlberg be the opposite of whatever is going on in the world, and I think that lines up. Which is probably why movies like Ted and like Daddy's Home didn't feel like good like draws to me, because I'm like, no, he feels as ridiculous as like John Lithgow and the dads interacting with each other.
Do y'all remember that movie that Mark Wahlberg was in, the jacked up movie where they're on steroids? Pain and Gain.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I was just trying to remember what that was. Like that was a
Just
movie.
another comedy.
That was that was another movie.
Yeah.
That came out around that time.
Yeah.
I just remember there was a bunch of jacked guys in it.
It was The Rock.
doing something.
He did this and then he did Pain and Gain. So.
Right.
Yep.
Honorable mention is Shooter, another good Mark Wahlberg movie.
Another good comedy.
I did like the soundtrack in this movie.
Yeah,
I mean, I think like all the songs like really did match.
Yeah.
Like every scene that they were in and carried the movie along. Like if they were used to accentuate how dorky Will Ferrell is, or if it's used to like go over a party scene. Which, speaking of a party scene, I mean, we talked about it during the movie, but like, did you all like the slow motion party scene that they used?
Overall, I liked it,
Yeah.
but boy, when I watched it last night, I was like, I bet this thing is gonna get ripped apart for this very scene, because it was so out of place, and it was so like, I think Nathan, you said it earlier, like visually it was cool, like technically it was really cool.
Yeah.
I agree, but I don't know that it necessarily fit. I did enjoy it. It's just strange.
I tend to just appreciate the more visual things. So I'm not gonna knock it at all for that. I don't think it fits in with the movie really, but I don't care.
Yeah,
It looks
what else
pretty.
did you sign up for? You know, like
Right.
you don't even know what contract you put your name
Yeah.
on.
I'm under the impression that I think it's fine. Like, my live commentary on it was, I'm like, I guess if they were going to do this bit regardless, it would have just been like a typical collage film thing again anyway. So I like that they did something different and unique. But if it's up to me and I'm an editor on this film and I look at it, I'm like, do we need this? Like, do we need any of this part? Can we just skip to the next beat and it'd be fine? Like,
And let's be real, like this was the tail end of Black Eyed Peas. This is 2010. So
Right.
Oh,
like,
they're
this,
petering out.
Yeah.
This was like
this is their last gasp.
McKay was just like, please.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fine scene. It's just extra. Like, which, I mean, again, is most of my problem with this movie is that there's more on the plate than needs to be there. I think that, again, we're getting into like the tempo side of it, and I said several times, okay, this is where the movie should be really wrapping up, and then there's like another 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my god. Like, but I think that cues really well into segue transitions, unless we all have any other other
I
thoughts
think
with
we're
it.
good.
What's the next thing on this season's agenda?
So we're trying to incorporate a little bit of trivia.
Or you know.
Yeah, and here we are.
Is any of this not from IMDb?
No.
Could they always just go to IMDb and find out our trivia ahead of time?
Good.
Maybe.
Well,
But don't.
I mean, at the
Don't
same
do it.
time, though, I think if any trivia comes up about a show, it probably does get put on IMDb.
A lot
of it,
So,
yeah.
like, how are you
By
gonna
proxy.
not find? Well, how are
So-
you gonna find something that's not on there?
Exactly. Just a few little things. Dirty Mike and the Boys you guys mentioned earlier. That's actually the director. Dirty
Yeah,
Mike
okay.
was.
Yeah.
Okay. Which was kind of cool.
He was good. He was a good actor.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I think that compared to like Tarantino, I think he did better than Tarantino. Because when you see Tarantino in a Tarantino movie,
It feels like it's like there's like
Or
an
M. Night
appreciation.
Shyamalan. He does a
Right.
lot of that in his too.
Really?
Yeah, he just shows up. He cameos in them real
I
quick.
haven't watched any of his movies.
Got a jar of old mustard, a poodle.
We're talking D's and
This is
some
A's.
A's. Okay, so Will Ferrell's second highest grossing film is this. Does anyone want to guess what his first one is?
Oh man. Well,
I'm gonna guess either what's that one old school or Ricky Bobby.
Fantastic guess. It's
Oh.
wrong, but I love that movie. He
Yeah,
gets his
Yeah.
guess is gone.
ooh.
Yep.
Will Ferrell, high grossing movies.
I mean, for some reason, I do just feel like Anchorman, in my mind, is
Yeah.
one that got a lot of play.
Right.
Could be Anchorman too.
And yeah, I was gonna say it got as much as
Because like the first Anchorman, like when it came out, it wasn't that huge, but then it gained a cult following, and then they
Yeah.
capitalized with Anchorman 2.
Elf.
I've never
Elf
seen
it is.
Anchorman.
Oh, Elf?
Elf.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which
As
is
soon as
like
I
so
remembered it, I'm like,
obvious.
I know it's something that's like not in his.
I'm surprised you guys didn't say
wheelhouse.
like Step Brothers or Talladega
No,
Nights. Like,
Step
you
Brothers feels
almost-
like an obvious answer, but the more I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm sure it's
Cult
something out of his
followings
thing.
kind
Yeah,
of
and
stuff.
Elf is too big. Like,
Elf is huge.
boosh.
Elf.
Yeah.
Like I went to HBO Max a second ago to try to find this movie, and like it said like holiday movies, and it had a picture of him as Elf.
Yeah, that's the cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't anything too crazy. Evidently, like what you guys saw at the court side, it was Brooke Shields. That's who like was
Mhm.
asking him as he was leaving.
Tracy
home.
Morgan's
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of trivia with this that I found like super interesting. I'm trying to think. What's his name? Adam McKay.
Yeah.
Legend of Ron Burgundy, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers. This evidently The Big Short, which you kind of got a little taste of towards the very end.
Mhm.
I do want to talk about that. That was. Well, you guys mentioned the
Count
director's
the
cut
credits.
with
So even
Derek
in
Jeter.
Yeah.
even in the standard credits, it does that whole
I-
pyramid scheme.
I would
Yes, it does.
assume
It
it
does.
does.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it is so hand-fisted at the very end. Even without the Derek Jeter part, him talking about like bad money and bad politics or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Like
I was this close to my own investigation. Derek Jeter's investigating.
Yeah.
That's like
there was a 9-minute span during the credit scene of just this like
stats and facts.
stats
Right.
of just this like crippling currencies and finances that are just getting broken down right in front of your
CEOs are
face.
getting paid more.
It is
getting
the
paid.
biggest tone change of this movie. It's so
Yeah.
strange, but all that aside, it was
it
afterwards.
seems like just an attempt to try and like push that information
An
into
agenda.
people's
Right.
heads.
Yeah.
You can say pushing an agenda. I say you're just trying to give
I mean,
people
really, it's
basic
just
information.
education. Right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie again, Nathan? V for Vendetta, toppling the government. Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
he's just
yeah.
giving information.
Well, I mean, credit where credit's due. So I wonder if this wasn't part of like a 1-2 deal with maybe like Sony or whoever was like doing budgets. They're like, okay, we want you to do like a fun action comedy. Thing is like, I'm really into like writing this like big political like let's uncover like the truth of like finances and like the gross side of capitalism. They're like, cool. So we got Will Ferrell over here. You guys have been killing it recently, so we think we can get a couple mil out of you guys. And he's like, all right, can I do this and then do my movie? And they're like, sure. And then he's just writing, but then side by side, occasionally notes
Yeah.
keep coming in.
Yeah,
So
that sounds about right.
I would guess that's probably how it probably goes a little bit behind the scenes on that one.
All right, so are you guys ready to move into the question?
ready.
All right.
My body's willing and ready.
So this one might get a lot of the same answers,
Mhm.
but rank the favorite 4 characters,
Ooh.
top to bottom.
In order?
Yes.
Okay.
Top to bottom. First to fourth best.
All right, I already got you.
Dylan, you go ahead.
Okay. It's got to be right off the bat. Terry. I fucking love Wahlberg. in this
Wahlberg is number 1 for you. Okay.
Keaton.
Okay.
Captain Gene. Followed into probably the. I actually love The Rock in this. It's a short and sweet-lived one. Samuel L. Jackson doesn't feel too far out, but for his time on this one, like this is the funniest I've ever found The Rock in this one. And then I give it to Ferrell on this one for this one. This is my favorite Ferrell role also.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough.
All right, I'm ready with mine.
Go ahead.
You're gonna love this one. Michael Keaton's number 1.
Mhm.
I've done like I said earlier during our discussion, every line of his hits.
Yeah.
Second, probably gonna go with Samuel L. Jackson. Actually,
Mhm.
Contrary to The Rock, I'd love it a lot.
With
It's like
one
if I-
more line.
If I wanted you to talk, I would reach my hand up your ass and work your mouth like a puppet. And like when he's in the car, like
Yeah.
shooting, everything he did in this movie like is golden. Third, Will Ferrell.
Mhm.
I did enjoy him a lot in this movie. I mean, I always do
Almost does.
most of the time. Never mind. Big
Almost.
caveat.
Oh, yeah?
Fourth, actually, is a one-note character that you see for like 10 minutes, and it's the guy who's the cuck of the wife.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Probably because of all of his hair.
The Arnold Palmer guy?
Yeah.
That's a good-
Arnie Palmy alert. Arnie Palmy alert.
I mean, this one's got the vodka in it.
Yeah, I can't. Just put it on the table.
You get back and make love to my wife.
What the hell, dude? It's 20 miles. Like, it's still running.
That's a good sleeper pick. I like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. All right, Nathan, you go ahead.
Yeah,
been scratching my brain trying to come up with one of those kind of
Mhm.
picks too, because I think that's definitely fun. But to me,
Dirty
like,
Mike has not been mentioned.
was
yet.
gonna
well,
say,
so I
I'd
was
almost
gonna
wanna
say
sub in
like
Dirty
I
Mike
was gonna say I don't want to be the guy that just picks somebody for like the bit
The
that
joke,
they
right.
do,
But their character
But-
is the bit.
but their character is the bit, and
Yeah.
Dirty Mike and the Boys is absolutely amazing.
We'll give you the whole group.
I mean, I'll like so. Will Ferrell, this is probably one of his best roles. I don't really like him being the man-child in things for the most part. Typically, I really don't like those kind of movies. I thought his character was interesting and funny in this one. Mike Keaton does a good job too. I wasn't as big of a fan of his whole thing where he's working in the Bath and Body Works.
Oh, I love that.
So,
One of the
Like
other
his
There's also a rapist now in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's my
Sorry,
other
no,
job.
no.
But if you're in that neighborhood, be
well,
concerned.
it's just like the way he's suddenly this like super passive kind of person
mentioned-
while he's working
yeah.
in there. It felt weird. Like I
The personality
couldn't
shift was showing
understand the
for you.
personality shift.
They should have had more of those scenes, and I think it would have worked a little bit better.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
there was
It
literally
just felt
one
too,
scene.
It felt like too much of a sudden shift in his character,
Yeah.
which actually would probably have him go down even more for me,
Yeah.
honestly. So probably
Dirty Mike.
Will
was one.
Ferrell,
Okay.
Wahlberg, Keaton, Dirty Mike.
Dirty Mike sneaks in the end.
Yeah.
I'm gonna redo my list really quick. Move the fourth one down. 0 pick is actually Dirty Mike.
They're the S tier.
Yeah, they're the S tier
Yeah.
one. How I forgot about that.
I mean, that whole little explanation of what happened. Like, I was trying to think like if there was a name for the guy that
Thanks for
described
the
everything
F-Shack.
that happened
Yeah.
in the car.
That's
because
my
that
number
was
4.
gonna be my pick. Was
Yeah.
that guy just saying all this stuff that happened?
Yeah.
But
He was
again,
there
that
for
was just
one
saying that
moment.
I liked the bit, not saying that I liked the character.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely giving that guy number 4, just because he delivers all of that bullshit
Yeah.
perfectly. Oh yeah, the mama raccoon came in and blew placenta out the back window. Found a deer
Found a deer.
vagina.
I know.
Thought it was human lips at first.
But then we knew it was a deer vagina.
Yeah.
That's my number 4. I'm gonna give it to Wahlberg number 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Keaton number 2. I'm still gonna say Will Ferrell number 3. I almost gave it to Ron Riggle, just because like for the same reason that you like The Rock for a little bit of that reason.
Yeah.
Same thing that you and Samuel L. Jackson. Ron Riggle's lines, they're a few more plenty than the other two, but I don't know.
I think with Mark Wahlberg though, I got really tired of the trope that like he's this tough guy, but like he's
But has like a soft core.
yeah, like he knows like ballet, art, like
Sarcastic.
there was
that
a-
got
there was
used
a-
a lot.
The reason
I don't
for
feel
that
like there
makes
was
me
too
laugh
much of
every
that.
time.
I like
No,
that every time it's like his
No.
girlfriend.
No, this was the director's cut. Price said,
Oh.
"Oh, this one doesn't bother me."
That's
Or,
true.
I
There's,
don't want it.
there's
I
about
don't
one
want it.
more
Blah,
in
blah,
there
blah,
than there
blah.
should
The
be,
art.
but that's because.
And now
there's
he's
the-
saying that there's too much of it.
Right.
So which one is it, Price?
I said there was too much. Like those scenes need to be cut because there's too much of that Mark Wahlberg trope.
Yeah.
If those scenes are cut, you just have the ballet one, which is
Pretty
really
funny,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that
thought
and the
it,
weddings.
to me, it was even funnier that like this girl has broken up with him, and he keeps just proving how like
Terrible.
extremely knowledgeable
Talented.
and talented and like perfectly like fit to her interests he really is.
But he just wants to be a cop.
Yeah.
That's why it can't
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
And also, he only likes them ironically.
Yeah,
Because it was-
yeah, he only likes them so that he can make fun of people, so that he
Right.
knows well enough to make fun of them properly.
Exactly.
That was really good, though. You're right. It might have gone on a little too far, but the initial one was really good.
No,
The ballet
I love it.
one's really good.
I love it. Give me all of them.
All right, so we're gonna move into Fat, Thin, and Perfectly Fit.
Hey, you thought that segment died last season? It's back, baby. Fat, Thin, Perfectly Fit. I'm not allowed to explain it anymore.
So,
It's
Price.
pretty. Yeah.
I'll kick it off. I've already said my piece earlier, but it is fat. There's a part, I'm going to let Dylan say his piece. He's going to expound upon it further, but what he said makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to preemptively say I agree with what Dylan is going to say here in a moment. I'm not even going to say it, but the action dragged on too long. The plot goes on too long. The jokes in the original cut, I think, are trimmed appropriately. I mean, Step Brothers was the same way. Like we said during that discussion, that I watched the director's cut. I don't know if it's just a case with Adam McKay movies or if it's comedies in general, but editing is really important for those because you need to know when the joke ends and when to stop it. And the director's cut on this one, isn't too offensive with that. I think the Step Brothers one is a lot worse in that regard. I think there's some jokes that are just don't land at all because they push it on too long. This one doesn't do it as bad, but it indulges in the action scenes, whereas Step Brothers did it with the comedy scenes, which Step Brothers is all comedy, so the director's cut really hurt my opinion, but the original cut's still a 10 for me, so go for it.
I feel like it's kind of complicated to call something fat whenever it's the director's cut and it's the first time you've seen it, so you don't really know where fat had already been trimmed from the theatrical release. But yeah, this movie is obviously fat. It drags down at like I get kind of tired of the whole downbeat, like, oh, you're off the case, you're working traffic now.
Very
like
tropey.
that whole like things break, they go their separate ways. You have this whole like, oh, what's going on with their life while they're like just getting over and moving past the actual main story.
It's the
like,
breakup
no.
and the rom-com,
I want
right.
the story to just keep going. Let's just get through this. Like this, it's that sort of stuff is tired and predictable. So predictable. So I hate all that. That makes it fat. I don't know if you can cut it, but I sure would like to.
You could cut it, and you should. Yeah, this movie's fat. A lot of the pre-mentioned reasons. The action goes on for too long, and there's probably too much of it.
When should the movie have ended?
The movie should have ended about 30, maybe even 35 minutes sooner. So they pick up Urshan for the second time, and it should just be roller coaster to the credits from there.
Yeah.
But then they take him to the apartment, they chill out, they all have a day to go recover and add stakes to this film, but this isn't a movie where I want to feel stakes in it per se. I don't want to be like, it was the Avengers Infinity War of action comedies. Like, nobody wants that out of their comedies, I don't think. I don't know, that may age, but most people don't want that out of their comedies. Not me, anyway. So they have 30 minutes of stakes, and to be fair, we get the one scene with Sheila's mom going back and forth, and that feels very much like a scene that is like a director's cut scene that if I'm like going through it, you cut it. Yeah. And I think it's in the original cut though, still too, because all these parts are still there. Right.
It's in the original.
But, and that for me is already sitting here and saying like, okay, this is a 2-hour movie, but roughly the last half hour of it feels like it's going too much. And it's not to say that I don't love, or I don't enjoy some of the stuff that goes on there. It's just that pound for pound, I enjoyed the experience a lot more whenever there's not all extra fluff. Like, it's getting a very big cupcake with a little bit of frosting on it. If I'm only there for the frosting, I'm eating too much cupcake. I'm
Sounds
just
like a beautiful cupcake.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. You seem like a frosting guy.
You just scrape all the frosting off.
No,
Exactly.
rarely is the cake.
I want a muffin.
Me too.
Listen, I'm fine with muffins if the muffins are right, but a cupcake is a frosting machine. Meant to sit there and put frosting into your mouth with some consistency there. Anyway, some more of the stories that just embellish on some of the parts that I think are less strong in it. Again, I think the action and the plot all serve the best purpose of giving a context for the jokes. And as long as the jokes land and there's just enough for it to make sense and it just feels all universal, it's fine. But whenever it feels too much of one genre or another, when you get, movies that are trying to be comedies but also actions, this is wherever you got to find a nice middle ground, and sometimes it just felt like more comedy on the first half, more action on the second half. So the balance makes it a little fat for me, in my opinion.
I do think it's a little bit chubby. I don't think it's quite as big as everyone thinks. Kind of like I was talking about earlier with like Ricky Bobby. You watch that. Mm-hmm. To me, that movie was almost a little bit too southern. It was a little bit too much NASCAR. It was a little bit too much over the top with all that.
Well,
but guess what?
They're
parodying
the NASCAR southern.
And you gotta also consider their audience.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the movie that I chose to watch.
Rednecks. Side note: random memory I'm having. Rednecks at my school loved this movie when it came out.
No one hated it. It's like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah,
but
same.
Yeah.
I remember every one of them had the same critique though. This is 2006 or 7 when
2007.
Yeah, 2007 it comes out. Yeah, love Ricky Bobby, great movie. I don't like them kissing at the end though.
Exactly.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Yeah, no, that's Eastern Kentucky.
But when I think about this movie being a little bit chubby, it definitely comes towards the end where like Hershon or whatever is still in their clutches and they're like shooting from helicopters. All this crap is happening.
Yeah.
And then they get foiled at the end, but not actually foiled because then the SWAT team shows up. And all that stuff was a little bit clanky. I get it. But guess what? They're detectives. They've been on this big scene. Like Nathan said, I want to just trudge through it. That little downbeat part could have been a lot worse. Him dancing in the
Yeah.
street, doing the traffic signals. At least that was a little bit more upbeat. You felt a little bit of Will Ferrell actually getting down to the bottom of the wreckage and some of that stuff. It wasn't as bad as that could have been, luckily. But yeah, it's a little chubby.
I think that a downbeat can be done really well, though, because I'm going to talk about Adam McKay's other movie, Step Brothers. I think that the downbeat in that movie is very good because that's when the two brothers break up. But, it's the downbeat, you can tell, but they're learning how to be adults in their own man-childish kind of way. And then when the downbeat, ends, they're different characters than who they were before the downbeat started, and it's not long either. So I think it can be done well, but it's hard.
Yeah,
because you've seen it. It's tired because you've seen it a million times.
And this one doesn't establish that they're particularly any different or grown, other than really they're talking about stuff that they've already said that Will Ferrell's character is already good at, which is kind of looking into the finances side of it and kind of seeing where things are mechanically illegal and behind the scenes and looking for clues that way. So I didn't learn anything new about it. If anything, they've already told us that he's good at that. But anyway.
Also, the shooting that you were talking about, I didn't feel 1 ounce of dramatic tension when they were shooting each other. I get that it's a comedy. I never saw one bullet hit besides the part where the bullets were supposed to hit.
Kind of looked like a Marvel film, didn't it?
More like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. All right.
Weird flexes to sit there and throw.
It's a trope at this point.
Honestly, I stabbed at Marvel. He stabbed at Star Wars.
I know. I'm like,
what else do you like? Pokemon is dumb and it's for children.
No, it's not for 35-year-olds and up. So let us have this Nintendo.
So now is when we talk about critics' scores versus audience scores versus our scores.
Yeah, so this...
Are we doing our... I think we should do ours before critics.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't want to be like, oh, critics.
Yeah, I don't want to...
Oh, I'm going to change mine.
To be fair, I don't think anybody would, but...
It's not going to happen.
So much of this context, is for the record, is based off the concept that Price kept thinking that somebody, me, was shilling on critic scores on this one, which I think is that... So we made a whole new segment
I think that you shilled way too hard for Spirited Away when it came to the
Absolutely
the
not. I love Spirited Away.
I do, but are we okay to go? I can go first.
Go ahead.
Start from the top over here. I feel like this movie to me is a very super solid 7.5.
Okay.
It's not to that 8 category where I'd want to recommend it to everybody, but it's at 7.5 because I would like to rewatch it. I think it's funny. But there still are qualms to it that I've expressed previously. I think the characters are all super good. I think the cast are all used very well. There's not one person I think that's like a big name that's going to a comedy just to have some fun. I think that they all do very well in what they're going for. Like you all said, even Eva Mendes, who's normally just like the kind of love interest, she's super funny in it. Mason even pointed out that at the end of the movie, during the credits, they say big boys don't cry, I forgot.
Pimps don't cry.
Pimps don't cry. And she's the one singing it with somebody else.
CeeLo Green.
With CeeLo Green. Yeah. So, that's even pretty funny. So, I mean, the whole movie's funny from top to bottom. I just wish it focused more on the comedy than it did the parodying and action aspect.
I'm going to give this one just a 7. Just a little bit lower than where Price was. I have some similar opinions on it, but... just in my case, comedies don't tend to really go all that high to begin with. But this one was pretty solid. I had a good time with it.
Again, it's his first watch. So what's your first watch opinion of it compared? We've all seen it a bunch of times.
Well, overhyped now at this point.
I was going to say, the problem is it
no.
was definitely overhyped by now.
Yeah.
So you could say that probably hurt expectations on it. But it was fine, and it's I think probably one of the better Will Ferrell comedies.
You're not a Will Ferrell guy at all, though.
Oh, I'm not.
So that's the top of the poop cake for Nathan.
Poop cake?
I mean, he's got the thing is there's so many funny bits and one-liners and scenes and stuff that Will Ferrell has done over the years that are great. Even I bet if I were to think back on the Tim and Eric's movie, there's bits from that were funny their own.
You're gonna make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Why do you keep winking?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's stuff there where it is funny, but on the whole, I don't like sitting through his entire movies most of the time. So this one's pretty good though.
Yeah.
It is too long, but.
We also watch the director's cut on
that's the other thing is I don't know where I could say it is too long and it
You're gonna still
lets the
think
director
you're still
do
gonna
it.
think it's fat. I
Yeah.
mean, like I pointed out every
It's-
time something in the director's cut came off, and
It's maybe
it's
like
5
another
to 10 minutes.
I would say
I
like
would
10,
say 12.
Yeah.
12. It's
Yeah.
not much.
No, whatever.
It's about 10, 12 minutes shorter, which I think still makes a difference, but
Mhm.
even if they
Yeah.
cut stuff that I think is funny, kind of gets into that. But I'm just a smidge higher than these two on it. I'm going to take it all the way to that nice, big, fancy 8. We're going 8. It's not 8.5. It's not breaking the mold on anything like that. But it is the funniest that I think Will Ferrell is to me. It's the funniest thing I've seen Wahlberg and Keaton and all of the actors and tools that I kind of as mentioned are used so well, and I appreciate that. It's just that the movie is fat and it goes on for longer than what I prefer, but if you're looking at comedies and you're thinking back on movies that you like, it tends to be a highlight reel for me, so I always, especially when rewatching this one, there's just so many moments I'm just looking forward to. The first, like, as soon as I see The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, my brain's already hearing Foo Fighters play. Whenever you see the Prius, I'm already, like, waiting to hear Dirty Mike and the Boys' like, little opening things, and all of those things continue to be funny, and that, for me, in a movie that I've seen several times. So many times. For a comedy movie to still age well in its humor and that still stick and maintain, like, the strengths haven't gone away from this movie, so it's playing a good test of time for me. I'm going to give this an 8.
Solid. Yeah, you guys are going to make me look like a fool. I'm going to land at a 9.
Yeah! It deserves it.
I genuinely like this movie. I think I'm with Nathan. Comedies for me normally don't land super high. They have to be unique. They have to have some kind of, like, quoting power, some, like, references, you know? Like, even Tim and Eric, Price thought every single one of us was going to hate that
I
movie.
did not.
You did?
He did.
You actually
He
did,
did.
I
I
think.
did not.
And I ended up with like a 7.5 because, damn it, we referenced that movie so often. I think it was more
You
like
gave it a
7. I
7?
think I gave it a 7.
All right, Mason.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I thought I was going to... Anyways.
See, I make fun of that movie ironically,
You-
just like Mark Wahlberg. So.
If, what are you doing? You can't do that. It's
He's
stuck
trying
forever.
to change.
He's trying to
Anyways.
change my education.
Anyways, this movie can be referenced to the moon and back, and I think that amongst this group, we're probably going to keep quoting it, and it's just going to be a lot of fun.
I mean,
I
we
think-
have been.
Yeah.
We already have
Now
been.
that
Yeah,
Nathan's
like you
in on it,
guys have
though.
referenced things and I've never even known what the hell you were referencing.
Yeah.
But now that you're in on it, you're going to find so much more appreciation when we're talking about, all right, we're going to get in this Prius, we're going to put on some talk radio real loud, put some fingers in some buttholes. Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as like the audience versus the critics,
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, the audience, I don't know how to really read this. So this is actually IMDb, where like audience scores were slightly above the Metacritic, the critics.
Right.
6.7 versus 64. 64 versus 67. Not
So
much difference.
audiences
but
were a
Rotten-
little higher on this than critics at a glance.
But with Rotten Tomatoes, the critics had it at a 78 versus a 60 as an audience score. So
Dang, I was pretty dang close.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
Huh. Somebody.
Yeah, you
Close
probably
to
looked
that.
You
at
think
it.
I peaked it? I forgot that this was a segment.
Yeah.
I don't know. So this one, and also the argument can be made that it's a comedy. You know, like
Right.
how can you really critique a comedy more so than maybe something like a drama? Or,
I think it's
It's
exactly.
always
sense,
just like,
though.
does it make you laugh? or
Yeah,
not?
Right.
it's just
All
like a
can
musical
ever
in my
come down.
opinion.
And you guys
that's
have heard
why
me.
they're categorized the same way.
Right.
Comedies and
I think
musicals.
you've heard me boil it down a little, maybe oversimplified it too a lot of times. Is it a comedy that doesn't make me laugh? Doesn't make me laugh. If it's a scary movie that doesn't scare me or make me.
But that doesn't work on the Muppets music Christmas Carol. That criteria gets thrown out.
I love Christmas.
Because I'm not there for
I hate
music.
that movie.
Yeah, but
It's a musical, damn it.
so, anyways, I suppose it kind of makes sense that the critics were a little bit hotter on this one because if you're thinking contextually, if you're a general viewer of Will Ferrell, you're looking at Price's movies that you
Yeah.
get to see.
You are.
And this is pretty far away from it, which is why, I guess me and Nathan on the other side of the fence like it more compared to, the run of, the 05 to 08s Will Ferrell movies in that regard, barring,
he had a
Step
bunch
Brothers.
during that time. When you
Yeah.
said Kicking and Screaming, too, I was like, oh my
that
God.
was a movie. Blades of Glory was that movie. That one, right. And most
Blades of
people...
Glory, I think, is slept on, too.
Maybe, but do you
I
hear often all people all the time being like, oh yeah, it's a top 3 Will Ferrell movie? Like,
Never.
no. Do you think most of those movies, barring Step Brothers, people are going to be like, top 3 Will Ferrell movie? If they start listing all 3 from that verse, and that's exactly their comedy, and this isn't it, and that's why they didn't like
Will
it.
Ferrell, I think, is really good, for the general audience, not for me, but I think he's used best when he, like Nathan said, is, cast in the movie. Not the main character or something, but he's
You
can't
can't give him too much creative
like the
control,
Ben
I think.
Stiller model movie.
Oh, Zoolander. When
Zoolander.
Yeah,
Zoolander.
Moonbot,
Yeah,
or-
like when he's like just flavor in the
What
movie.
is that guy's name? Oh, well, not important. But
Nope.
Blue Steel. That's all I
well,
remember.
yeah, no, he's. I'm trying to think of like he's. Oh, that's so hot. Like that actor.
Oh,
the
God.
one, the
Yeah.
guy that he plays as.
Yeah.
With his hair.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so I guess that makes sense. And plus, it's Adam McKay. Adam McKay has a little bit more smarter humor with it, so people probably didn't like the hammer on the head stuff.
Yeah.
But without further ado, one segment hasn't gone anywhere, and it's the fucking wheel. It's the best part of this whole show.
Price gets to spin it first.
Yep.
Oh,
In that
dude.
direction.
First
This
spin.
way?
Yep.
Yeah. Good spin, buddy.
All right, here we go. That was a weak
That was a
spin.
weak
That
sauce.
was a
spin.
terrible spin.
Ah,
How did you
well.
do that?
What is it?
Retro review. We're not even getting a movie that we have picked. on here.
First,
Yeah, just
Ouch.
because we started the season off with a film we've been talking about for a long time. Let's go back in the time.
Dang.
So,
Well, there
this,
we go.
it lands to one of us three, right? Because this is
Oh, shit.
technically
no,
counts
it's not
as
a Mason pick. That the
it-
other
it-
guys
it-
was a unit, like
it
a
could
vote.
be
Well,
Yeah.
right, but
So
I'm fine with it being open. I'm fine with it being open.
Let's say this:
Mhm.
the first 4 movies we picked.
Okay.
Which one of those do you guys want to watch?
Oh,
the
it's
first
definitely
four.
Man, Earl, and the Dying Girl. It's the
Heck
Scanner Darkly.
no.
See,
What
I'm
was
on
our
board with
first 4?
Scanner Darkly.
No.
So we're just gonna
Kung
pick our own.
Fu phone booth.
I don't want to do any of these.
So, oh yeah, I wouldn't do my first one. That's not true. I'd rewatch it.
well,
but
who's
that's not my
picking
first
first of all? Do we do
That's-
this now or off air?
pick. No, we pick it now because we gotta do the next bit already. So
Okay, so who's picking? Because whoever's picking should be the only one looking.
okay. So do we? I don't want to do it biased because
All right, whoever this lands on. Woo!
Nathan.
Nathan.
Scanner Darkly.
All right,
Ah.
looks like it's Scanner Darkly.
I was gonna say there's no way I can say this. I'm like, let's just go in order on the list, but I already looked and I knew I was first, so I didn't want to sit there and be like, that's clear bias. So our
It's
new
been
bit.
several years since I've seen this movie.
It's been since the last time we've talked.
And we did record this.
No,
No.
this is like our
This was
second movie. or
Yeah,
whatever.
this was like first or second movie,
So for those wondering at home,
or well, first round of movie.
Huh.
nowadays we like to watch the trailers of the movies that we're getting into. So we're doing a live trailer reaction right a part of it. We probably won't add the little trailer part here because DMCA's and or whatever. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe not. But
You're gonna hear it.
yeah, you're gonna
Maybe.
hear it, and you're gonna hear us react to it.
Maybe you'll hear it. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Let's see. Sexual content. I don't remember anything sexual in this movie.
There's boobies in this movie.
Yeah, there are. But they're like digital boobies.
Gosh, I forgot how like fluid it was.
God, the
Oh, yeah.
animation, I forgot.
It's such a trip. The suits, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
remembered.
Gentlemen, you are about to witness for approximately 69 cents.
Woody
I
Harrelson.
love
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr.'s character in
Oh, I
this
do
movie,
too.
and just how
He's
like
so good.
insane he is.
That one on Rider.
Mhm.
I still can't believe the talent they got in this movie.
Yeah.
Absurd. This would have been right before Iron Man, wouldn't it?
No, this is not this. And this is like late 90s.
What
early
year is this?
I thought this was 04.
Oh,
I was thinking like this is like 04. That's like right before Iron Man, right
Iron
now.
Man's 08.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's pretty soon before, because like once Iron Man hit, like
yeah, Robert Downey Jr. was
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about Dr. Doolittle.
Oh, there's
Doctor Doolittle.
they just were dragging Alex Jones into the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
forgot
forgot
about
that
that.
he was on here. 2006.
Oh, wow, okay, so this is right before that. Yeah.
Yeah, this came out while I was in high school.
Which is strange to
He's
me.
one of the top billed though. He was
Right.
just above Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. Which makes sense because he was a big actor. He had a big fall off because he was really heavy into his addictions, and Hollywood was thinking he was kind of toxic. But
Yeah, but
Why does Winona Ryder look good even as that?
because Winona Ryder is fire.
oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Linklater, that's who directed this one.
Does it see into me?
I want a suit like that.
Can we do that for Halloween? We just have a suit that turns into.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and every day after that.
Just
Yeah.
an ever shifting collage of people.
Just awe-inspiring stuff.
I don't like that cafe scene. That is the one scene where I was like, this is
I can't
really it happens so early on, and it's kind of one of those things that I think could put people off watching the whole movie.
Right. Yeah. I
Because
was,
it's like weirdly super
Spoiler!
sexualizing.
yeah. I think this. Yeah, the trailer in itself, I don't think does a good. And this is something we actually have insight with because it's a retro review. We've seen this
Yeah.
movie. Is that I don't think the trailer does a good job of giving you the visual like mindfuck behind the movie, but the tone feels.
Yeah, it doesn't give you anything though. It doesn't actually give you
Right,
anything
for the
what
plot.
the heck happens.
And this is the sort of movie where I think it's like
The
the
lesson,
first time you watch it, you're not really even sure what it was you watched or why.
You're just
It
absorbing.
It takes 2 watches at least to understand like what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Because of
I can
just
see
the
that.
nature of the fact that these are all a bunch of drug addicts.
Right, and everything's
It's a lore-heavy movie, too.
It is, right. This is a very sporadic movie. That's something that, yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to be really intrigued. I'm not upset at all. This is our retro review, our first retro review of the season, because this is a movie that I distinctly want to see now that I have an idea of what I remember.
It's got some pieces to it, right?
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
But, without further ado, guys, that's our episode of the F Movie Podcast. Welcome to Season 5. If you're listening on audio, give us a follow. I don't know what the Spotify terms are for
You subscribe.
Is it to subscribe?
Yeah.
I don't really know yet.
I don't know. Yeah.
Subscribe if you can.
Subscribe, hit the little heart because that saves it. I don't know if that does anything for us, but hit all the buttons. If you see buttons and they look like good buttons, hit those buttons on
They're all the good
Spotify.
ones.
And if you're here on YouTube, hey, welcome. You've been here for 5 seasons, thank you. And make sure to hit the thumbs up. Those buttons I know. I don't think there's thumbs down anymore, so got you bots. Or Price at certain reviews when he doesn't like what we talk about.
Oh, you've seen them?
Alita Battle Angel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's done it twice.
Yeah,
He said it a few times.
Yeah, we pay attention. I don't talk about every review I watch.
In the
but-
review, it's mentioned, this is not an anime.
So we
So dumb.
suck it. Now he has to go out of his way to comment, I dislike this.
Yeah.
Make sure to hit the bell. Can you? Thank you.
Yeah.
So you know whenever we
Getting
upload
away.
every week.
I expected him to come over me.
The audio would have been too fierce, and I know Kelly, who's driving and still listening to this episode, would just be like, "Oh my God, did he leave?"
Aren't you to work yet?
Why aren't you? Yeah, this is a long
It's
drive.
been a long podcast.
Maybe
You
she's
should be
driving
there.
back home. Maybe this is the
Yeah.
return.
Oh,
trip.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, hit a comment below for any thoughts. Did you think this is an underrated movie? Where is this in your Will Ferrell list? Is this the type of comedy you like? Let us know in the comments below. But otherwise, you can tune in next week to see us retro review A Scanner Darkly. Bye, guys. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.